Hello. Was it 38 or 39? It was 39. Minisode 39. Here we are.
What are we doing today?
Harry's shaking his head. Today we're talking about our results. The results are in, man.
You could explain any more?
We've been doing you've been doing vote coasters for ages, and finally, it's done.
What is it?
What is it? I think we've talked about this before a bit on the podcast, but basically, it's a community rollercoaster poll, and you have to log on, and there's like draggy and droppy boxes, and you just put all your list in of all your roller coasters you've ridden, and then some kind of magic, I don't know how it works, compares them all. So like say you've ridden Wildfire and you put it below Nemesis, then it would just clock that as a vote, or I don't know how you'd say it. Anyway, it works out which roller coasters come on top, but it's not like it's not as biased as if you just. I don't know the other method of how you do it. How would you do it?
You could just score it. So you could say number one in someone's list gets 20 points, number two gets 19,
right?
So on and so forth. But
then if not a lot of people have ridden a ride and they only get 2 people who put it first, they would only have 20 points, whereas it's actually a really good ride.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we did a poll, and apparently like a gazillion people actually voted on it. How many was it? Like a
2,700 people ranked. If you add up all the roller coasters in everyone's list, you get to 115,000.
Which we weren't expecting.
No, so it's probably the biggest rank-based poll ever conducted, bigger than the last ever Mitch Hawker's poll.
Which is mad.
Yeah, pretty crazy. So yeah, more people, and they were ranking more rides.
Yeah,
I think we averaged about the same as Mitch Hawker's per person, like 42.5 or something.
Oh, so the average amount of rides you've ridden.
Yeah, it was ranked the same, but because we'd had so many more people do it,
overall you had more.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, crazy. And obviously we, as Zoe said, computer does all the magic, calculates the results, lots of data points and everything, and spit out some numbers. Then we played with them a little bit to see if we can make it better based on a few different things. Because obviously this was the first time we'd had so much data to play with.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons it took a week and a bit to sort out the data was because we'd never done it before in that way.
So you were trying things out, weren't you?
Yeah, so we wanted to see what the best mechanisms were, what best requirements could come up with the best results, essentially.
Yeah, so like, what's the word? Like a minimum...
Yeah, a minimum threshold.
Yeah.
So, one of the things we did was we basically ran it just straight away. Any coaster that had less than 5 people ridden it, we removed it, and then ran it and said that, okay, if each matchup, so as Zoe said, each comparison, so comparing Wildfire and Nemesis, that needs to happen at least 5 times for it to count.
Yeah. Otherwise, the lower down the number, so like closer you get to like 0, is how it's going to be less accurate, isn't it? So you have to find the point of which it's as accurate as it can be. Yeah. To make it the best results.
So we started with 5, and it was good, but we were finding that there were a lot of lesser ridden coasters, especially in Asia, that were just about missing out. And
because not enough people.
Yeah, that it was a bit too harsh. So we ran it again with 3 instead of 5.
Yeah.
Still, you needed 5 people to have ridden it before it even gets counted. But we found with 3, it was just much better. A lot of the rarer coasters all got bumped up to places that just felt more reasonable.
Yeah. Because probably some of these rides is like just not that many, like we were saying before, not many people have ridden it, so they can't rank it.
Yeah, exactly.
But that makes it unfair because Just
Yeah.
because only 5 people have ridden it doesn't mean it shouldn't rank higher, you know?
So the quality would have got worse, but it also kind of, the rankings got better.
Yeah, so it balanced out.
Yeah, it was worth it. The lower quality methodology was worth the better quality results in the end.
Yeah.
So we went forward with that. And the final thing we did, which I'm not too sure if other polls do this. I don't know about Mitch Hawker. I do know a few other polls don't do this, which is every coaster that doesn't meet the threshold gets removed. So a lot of times what people end up doing is, you know, you rank all your coasters, and we said they had to have a certain amount of matchups to be given a rank. So a coaster had to be compared to at least 100 other roller coasters to get a rank.
So, in other words, it has to be in...
No. There has to be 100 valid comparisons. So Nemesis against Helix, Nemesis against
Yeah,
Terra.
that's what I was going to say. It has to be in people's lists where it's compared against other things. So if someone's got a list made up of 3 rides, that's not going to help much because there's only other 2 comparisons.
Yeah. So, but I mean successful comparisons between other coasters. So what I mean by that is 3 people had to have had that comparison for it to become successful, and we need 100 of those successful comparisons between different coasters for it to count.
Okay. So comparisons with coasters that have also been compared to other stuff.
I'm talking about comparisons with coasters directly. So
Yeah,
you know, Nemesis might have had 5-1 against the Smiler. That's 1 of the 100, and then Nemesis might have had 2-3 against Helix. That's number 2 of the comparison, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. So what I was just trying to say was, you can't have just been to a UK park, say there's some obscure UK coaster, and all you're comparing it to is other obscure coasters that no one's got in their list. It has to be a ride that's like well known and got loads of other comparisons.
Yeah, but it helps to, if you're going to make a list and you've ridden obscure coasters, it really helps to put them with really mainstream coasters with really obscure ones, because then you can build upon the matches that are most likely to happen. So yeah, but essentially those were our minimum requirements. So what we did is, after we did the second run, we saw all of these coasters that didn't quite have 100 matches, and we deleted them so that they weren't being counted at all, and then ran it again. Right. Because then what you're saying is, you're saying that I'm not going to include these rankings because they're not good enough, right? But a lot of people then leave that in, so that these coasters that aren't included in the ranking go on to affect the ones that are. So you should take them out, because then you're running the system with only roller coasters that
Who've got
good.
Enough matches.
Exactly. And again, we did that and saw improvements.
Yeah. So
a lot of the lesser known coasters went up a few places again, just because I think what happened is a lot of lesser coasters were just being compared against the big boys and like bumping up the big boys a little bit, just because the numbers, it's difficult to kind of get your head around. But yeah, so we did that and it got better again. So we were like, yes, happy days. So we went with that, and that was our final one. But it was interesting to see kind of things shift around. Like, obviously I love Carnan at Hansa Park, so I was obviously watching where that went. So the first run it was 25. That was with 5 being the limit. The second run it was 25, with 3 being the limit. And then the third run, it went up to 23.
No way.
So I was like, hell yeah.
That's a good example, actually, when you think about it, because Carnan is kind of lesser known. It's like a middle one, isn't it?
For sure.
So it's got bumped up twice by taking out the ones that shouldn't really be in there.
Age and Ica went up quite a lot between all 3. I think it went up and then went up again. So we were definitely most happy with the final one. You know, we spent a lot of time just looking at the results. Aaron, Andrew, Joel, just looking at them and being like, what makes the most sense, you know?
So that was it then. You had the results.
Yeah.
And your reaction was?
I mean, fine. I don't know. It's difficult. Like, half of me wanted them to be really radical, but then the other half of me wanted them to be really obvious.
Yeah. I feel like you got a bit of both.
You got to think. a lot of the polls out there that are currently running are way smaller than this. So when we did this, it's almost kind of certain that it's not going to be the same as everyone else's.
Yeah.
Because I think there's two things, and this is what I really want to push is a lot of polls out there already just cater to like the super enthusiasts who really care and have ridden like thousands of coasters.
Which makes sense in a way because they've ridden the most, so they're in a position to rank the most. Like they know different ones. Do you know what I mean?
And even our poll, right? The more you rank, the more of an impact you have, right?
Yeah. But then with like those enthusiasts who have been everywhere, they're more likely to have like strong opinions about stuff or like be so dedicated to like certain rides. Do you know what I mean?
I think and I think sometimes the sample's just too small.
Yeah.
Where you get just all of these kind of people that, perhaps aren't the average park goer, and we really wanted to get the opinions of everyone, both top and bottom, because then it's a more kind of fair view on everything.
It's representative of like everyone.
Yeah, not just the people who have ridden thousands of roller coasters, but also the people who have ridden 20.
Yeah, because with this system, if you've ridden 20 or if you've ridden 1,000, it doesn't really matter because you're just making matches.
Exactly.
So you're just contributing as much as you can. Do you know what I mean?
Pretty
it doesn't
much.
really matter.
That's it, yeah. Everyone contributes their own amount. You never get compared against anyone else. You only ever contribute your own
the
rankings.
Ones you've ridden.
Yeah, essentially. I mean, that was, I think, one of the main takeaways is that
the results looked a bit different because there was different people that hadn't been polled before.
Another thing I found with other polls is that a lot of them, obviously, like ours, is based around one community, but I managed to try and spread it as far as I could, obviously, by getting people like Coaster Studios, to help share it, which spread it beyond my own community and into other people's. Whereas a lot of other ones are just in one community, and what you find is like that whole community does a big trip to somewhere.
Yeah, and their opinions merge.
Everyone's opinion on that trip has the same opinion.
Yeah.
And they all say, "Oh, this ride is really good," right?
Because that's like in our nature to just like agree with other people.
Yeah, so they all say the same thing, and then the next poll that happens, boom, it goes up.
They've all formed their opinion,
that ride just shoots up.
Yeah.
Right, and it's a bit like, well, it's not really that fair because now all of these people have basically colluded to have the same opinion.
Because like when you think about it, the amount of times we go to like meet up with our friends or whatever, we all have like completely different opinions about stuff. So I can't imagine how, unless I don't know, maybe they're just so similar in personalities.
It happens. I've seen it. I've seen it in polls before. So
no, but I mean, how can you all have the same opinion?
I mean, they don't. But what I'm saying is that because they're all doing it together,
it becomes more of a group decision.
Yeah, in a way. And then also it's just kind of like this one ride out of like so many gets a huge boost in numbers. It's not evenly spread as much as it could be, is what I'm trying to say. It just gets a bit messy. And again, we didn't have that because it was spread much wider than just us.
Yeah.
Well,
that's the thing we've got to work on next year is spreading it even more.
Of course.
Because even as hard as we try to like spread it to other people, there's still like a lot of parks and rides that didn't really get that many. Like you were saying, some of the Asian rides didn't really get many hits because no one's been there. Like we need to find more people who've been there. So like there must be communities over in Asia, Australia, who like we can hit next year and try and get them to like help us make it more representative. Like this is just the start, isn't it? It's not representative. It is slightly representative compared to what it could have been.
It's the most representative roller coaster poll there is.
But it's not done yet.
But it's not, exactly. In the sense that I really believe that this poll balances America and Europe very well.
Yeah.
If you look at like the population sizes of Europe and America, they're pretty much the same. Our poll, exactly the same representation. Like 48 point... I think America's 48.7. No, Europe's 48.7. Europe's 48.7 and America's like 48.5.
Yeah.
Most polls, again, are very American heavy, like 2/3 American.
Mm-hmm.
So
we've hit Europe.
Yeah.
obviously, which we knew we would because we're from Europe.
Exactly.
But then there's other areas that were underrepresented.
And Asia, Australia, even France. Like, we didn't have that many people from
Yeah.
France.
So if you know anyone from those places,
as you said, I ran out of time trying to talk to different people because I was still trying to set up stuff, and obviously we were busy.
Getting it ready.
And I did talk to people, earlier in the poll it was more European, and then I reached out to like Taylor and El Toro Ryan and people like that to spread it in America more, and it worked, obviously. So next year we'll look out, try and talk to more Australian channels, more Asian channels. I've already got ideas and people to speak to, but I just ran out of time.
We didn't manage it,
and now we have results. I think people will be more inclined to take part. Because I think the ultimate thing that we should say is, like, if you want to see a roller coaster ranked or rank better, you have to rank it.
Yeah, but you have to have ridden it.
Of course, right? Of course.
So you can't be out here showing out
what I'm saying, if you've ridden like T Express, so an obscure coaster, and you want to see T Express continuously do well in the poll as it should do, then you have to rank it. Same with any obscure roller coaster in like China, like Wood Coaster or Bamboo Forest Coaster, whatever it's called. I can't remember what it's called. Python in Bamboo or some weird name like that. Or that might be a different coaster altogether. If you want to see those get ranked, or Soaring with Dragon, or Coaster Through the Clouds, these really rare ones, you have to rank them if you've ridden them.
Yeah.
So it is up to other people. It's up to you to get them on the poll.
Yeah. So, to find them and make them do it.
But I mean, my general thoughts on this, right, is a lot of people have said this. Obviously, it's very RMC heavy.
Yeah.
But then you look at the top 25, and I think there is only a handful of coasters, like less than 5, that I would take out of that top 25. Or like 3, probably, that I would personally think perhaps should be a little bit lower.
Okay.
And they're all towards the bottom of the top 25 anyway.
One of them better not be Helix.
No, it's not. And this is what I mean. Like, everyone says, there's lots of RMC coasters in the top 25, but RMC coasters are good.
Yeah.
They're known to be good. People like them.
This is what confused me, because obviously we've been watching people react to this like pretty much since it came out, like reading everyone's comments and that. People were saying, why is there so much RMC? Oh my god. I was like, but I was very confused, because isn't that like a very good company? Like,
everyone likes their rides.
I'm so confused. Yeah. Everyone loves RMCs. All you ever hear is like, oh, RMC it, RMC it. And then people were shocked. And I was like, why is everyone so shocked? Because they're like really good, aren't they?
It is strange. It is really strange.
I guess maybe it's just the quantity of rides. Because how many was it? Like 11?
I don't know. I only got the top 25 stats.
I think it was like 11 out of 50, out of the top 50 were RMCs, which is pretty mad, to be fair. But then how many of them are B&Ms?
Not many. Of the top 25, of the top 50, 5 are B&Ms, so 10%.
Okay.
16 are Intamin and 14 are RMC. So there's more Intamin in the top 50 than there is RMC.
Which makes sense.
Well, there's more Intamins, generally.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I mean, they're just good rides. That's it.
Yeah.
That's why they're there. I mean, stuff that I would have liked to see Carlton do better. I think it's better than some of them on there, personally. And I know other people feel the same way, and perhaps other people feel a different way. Tiger as well, 24th. I reckon that should be higher as well compared to some of these other coasters. And then for me, I don't believe that Taron should be so high, but then I see Taron and Wildfire next to each other, and I believe that both of them shouldn't be that high. But then this is where your own opinion gets into it.
And that's the thing, is like, if you just imagine that this is objectively how everyone in the world would vote these coasters, you just kind of have to accept it, because obviously we all have our own lists. We all made a list, and it's not going to look like our list, is it? Because they're all so different. Do you know what I mean? Because you can't come in thinking it's going to look like your exact list.
I think you got to think of this as more of like an average of everyone's opinions.
Yeah.
You know
what would be interesting? because obviously we haven't ridden all of these. If we got our vote coasters list next to it and looked at whether they were in the right order in the big list.
Mine's not. I already know
it's
that.
not.
Well, no, because Carnan's below Wildfire and Terror.
That's true.
And Helix.
But how interesting would that be to look at? Everyone should do that. See how... Because obviously if you just take out all the ones you haven't ridden and see if it's in the right order.
Yeah.
I mean, where's Balder is the question, because
not that low.
should be up there if it's going to look like my list.
61.
61, man. That is tragic.
It is a bit tragic.
See, and that's the thing, like, just, that's not going to appeal to everyone.
Exactly.
And that's the point. Like, I've seen a lot of comments of people saying, oh, you know, whatever ride should have been higher, whatever ride should have been higher. But that's the whole point, is that this is a generalised opinion, because everybody has that one thing they really like in a ride, and it's not going to reflect that.
No.
But I feel like most of it was pretty on point.
Yeah, I think there's some really good sections, especially where you see a lot of B&M hypers like ranked next to each other, which kind of is pretty fitting. Even X2, Dinoconda, and Asianica. The order is a bit weird in the sense that Asianica's usually spoken to be the best of the three, but came out the worst. But they're all very close to each other, you know. And they're the same type of ride and a very similar layout.
Yeah.
So you'd expect them to all be roughly the same.
Yeah.
And this is it. I think there's a lot of good in the sense, even like DC Rivals, the coaster that's over in Australia that, you know, not many people have been on. 12th.
Yeah.
And then Hakuge 11th, and that, you know, that's in Japan.
So it's getting there, in other words.
It's getting there. It's not perfect, far from it, but it's definitely
on the
getting
whole, there. It's pretty alright, I guess.
Yeah, I think, as I said, it's the best comparison we have so far, I believe, in terms of a general consensus ranking of the world's best roller coasters.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything else better out there right now.
Who knows? Let us know if you found one.
Yeah. But yeah, it was interesting to do, obviously, and I think people have generally liked the results.
There's been obviously we were based in the UK. There's been quite a lot of comments of, oh, none of the UK rides are in the top 50 and stuff like that, which I don't know how to take, because I don't really rate any of the UK rides other than like Wicker Man. Do you know what I mean? But this is the thing, like,
yeah, we got 3 that made the top 100,
which isn't bad.
No. Yeah.
But obviously, if you live in the UK, you kind of think at least one of them is going to be kind of like world class. But when you actually think about how many good rides there are out in the world, they're not in the UK, you know, which is kind of sad. But
and I think, I think this is also the UK's people's own fault. I'm going to put that down to that, right? Because people there's a culture for hating certain rides in the UK.
For example,
Smiler, Icon. And by people hating them and putting them lower in their lists, then putting them lower in the world rankings.
Yeah.
Right. But there's no reason for that culture to exist. It doesn't make sense. Like, the Smiler is an objectively good roller coaster. I don't know why people like bash it all the time. And anyone who says Icon is so boring is just completely wrong. I mean, roller coasters speed up, and Icon isn't the fastest thing at the start of the day, but neither's Helix or Boulder.
Yeah.
You know, and they all ranked higher. So
maybe we need to cut the
stupid.
UK.
Terran isn't even. I rode Terran first time at the start of the day. It was like, all right, yeah, it's fine. You know, so.
So you think that we're sabotaging ourselves?
Yeah, pretty much. Seriously, I think that's true.
Okay, so next year let's all be a bit kinder to the UK parks.
You want to rank what you think, but what I'm trying to say is,
but make your mind up.
What I'm trying to say is, make your own opinion.
Yeah.
Don't listen to the opinion of a man who says all roller coaster all Gerstein roller coasters are bad, right? Because they're not bad. They're actually quite good rides and very unique and innovative in their own way.
Well, I think what might make it easier is like just forget who made it. Just look at it as a ride.
How much enjoyment do you get out of it? Simple as, you know. Do you think it's a good roller coaster, just objectively? You know, does it fit the bill? Yeah. There you go.
Not who made it and who likes it in my friend group.
Exactly. Very true. So yeah, UK
So, yeah,
people,
well
you
done,
killed
guys.
yourselves. So GG. But no, and I don't think should any of the UK roller coasters have been in the top 50.
No.
Not really.
No.
I don't think so.
If anyone was going to do it, it was going to be Nemesis, but purely based on
it
nostalgia.
was in earlier iterations.
Right.
I think until the final run, I think it was 48.
I mean, it's 54. It's not bad.
Yeah. I reckon Smiler and Icon should be higher. Nemesis, I think, is fine. But
Yeah.
they're not. I wouldn't put them too much higher anyway.
Yeah.
I'd only bump Smiler up to like, it's at 77. I'd probably bump it up to like 68, and Icon perhaps to where the Smiler is now, 77 or 70 something.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say.
It is
Because it depends what rides you'd be bumping down.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the best thing about the UK rankings is that the Ultimate ranked higher than the big one, which just shows you how hit or miss the big one is.
Yeah.
The Ultimate's known to be trash, so...
I think that's probably my favourite result
Mm.
of all of them.
So let's take a look at some other people's opinions. People are like, too much love for RMC. Well, someone says, just makes me want to ride RMC more. Very
It's
true.
Andrew from the channel says, pleasantly surprised to see how well El Toro has held up, and seeing Voyage and Maverick in the top 10 is impressive considering their age relative to the other rides ranking that high.
What?
I was just waiting for you to reply.
I wasn't listening. What? Say it again? I was just reading these.
Pleasantly surprised how El Toro held up.
Oh, it's old. Right, yeah, okay, I get it. 2000 of...
No. And then he said, and seeing Voyage and Maverick at the top
right.
10 is impressive considering their age relative to the other rides ranking that high.
Yeah, but they're just good rides. They hold up. I think they're not... They're old, but they're not a different style. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
They're still modern in their design, I would say.
Ahead of their time, man.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I'd just say I don't think things have changed too much yet.
Right.
Too much. I think it will. I think it will start to. I think we'll see this year be a whole new shift.
Well, yeah.
So, I mean, this next decade. Leo Newton says, I still can't believe that Nemesis ranked higher than Inferno. I don't get that.
What?
I like...
Sorry, are you mad?
Again, everyone is entitled to their own opinion, but like, Inferno over Nemesis, it's just
That's
an
not
opinion
going to happen, man.
that I don't think makes sense.
Yeah.
Like,
Because they're essentially the same thing, but Nemesis is more intense and just better. I don't know how to explain it.
The Inferno layout, right, sure. The thing is, right, the Inferno layout is a really generic invert layout, where inverts have usually a sequence of elements. It's a vertical loop, a 0G roll, sometimes a second vertical loop, and then like 2 corkscrews.
Mm-hmm.
Inferno is vertical loop, 0G roll, 2 corkscrews. Interlocking corkscrews look good off ride, suck to ride. Just boring. It's pointless. Like 2 random helixes that don't really do anything. I don't know, man. It's just like it looks good. I think aesthetically, with the jungle thing going on, sure.
Yeah, but
it just,
so does Nemesis.
Yeah,
in a whole.
I agree. I don't.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just feel like those 2 rides is like the dad and the son. Like, how can you just be like, oh yeah, the kid's better? It's just not. Like, I don't know. I mean, in ways it is better, but in other ways it's not, which I think outrank it. Screwloop says, not surprised to see RMCs dominating this list. It's interesting to see that my only RMC, Zadra, which is 3rd in my rankings, comes 2nd in the world. I think it's fantastic, but I'm baffled to see it ranked this high.
Don't know, man. I mean, we'll see in the future what happens with Zadra. It could still be the hype of it being new. I think it's kind of difficult because certain new rides have a new ride hype, and other ones have a bit of a slow build up.
Yeah.
So Orion and Candemonium, both new for 2020, they didn't really do as well as I would expect them to.
Right.
But then
they might grow on people.
Yeah, but then Fly, and obviously Zadra opened late 2019, but I think it's had a full year at this point.
Yeah.
Fly and Zadra, I think there's a lot of hype behind them,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that they might, over time, slowly fall down the rankings.
Okay.
So we'll see. It's difficult to gauge whether the first year, especially when not everyone has ridden it, where it'll place. So I think it'll only get better. Aaron says, best pull out there. Obviously, Digital Dan also upset that the better Nemesis is over the worst one. Crazy. BGW enthusiast says, will this become an annual thing? It will. So November 2021 we'll be back ranking again with improved everything.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you know, improved user interface, taking on in everyone's thoughts over the past month. We had a lot of feedback, so we'll definitely be implementing that and trying to make it as easy as possible. And also, if you already have an account, you'll be able to just take the 2020 rankings and update them if you want to. Or
so
you can
you'll
start
log
again.
in and everything will be there as it was
Well,
last
you can
year.
choose. I think what we'll end up trying to do is say, you know, do you want to use your 2020 rankings? Yes, no. And then if you say yes, it'll put them in, and then you can adjust them from that.
Which is way easier, because then you just slot in any new creds and like rethink or something.
Exactly. You don't have to whack in another 100 coasters.
Yeah.
So, Slovis says, some of them were spot on, some not so much. And he says like wood coaster at 92 in Python, in Bamboo Forest, that's what it's called. I did get it right in the end at 159. I don't know if people saw it, but I actually updated the rankings to show roller coasters that had less than 10 riders with a little asterisk. And lo and behold, those two coasters both had less than 10 riders.
Yeah.
So, you know, now with the asterisk, it marks rankings that are of a lower quality. But I wanted to keep them in because people will then, they won't read into it.
Yeah,
if they're not
they'll
there,
just think they're not ranked as well.
Exactly. If they're not in the rankings, then they'll think they're not very good, which I think is not too right. So at the moment, you know, if they see an asterisk, hopefully they'll look for the asterisk and be like, you know, written by less than 10 people, lower quality, you know, the ranking isn't as accurate. And that'll bode better than, but obviously some coasters are still missing. And I'm going to write up a methodology report explaining how we did it, explaining the coasters, the big name coasters that are still missing from the poll, and also how to make it better next year for everyone. You know, so both what we're going to do next year to make it better, and then what also everyone else can do to make it better. So
big plans, man.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a year to sort it all out.
We should start now.
I mean, like, bless Jamie, the guy who built the online tool to, you know, and the system that created the actual results, you know, he's been like flat out for the past 2 months. I mean, so have I, but he's been doing it on obviously the coding side, and I've been doing it on mainly the website building and making sure that everything's kind of in the right place. So he deserves a break. For sure.
For a couple months.
Yeah, but I do reckon, like, very quickly I'd like to start kind of etching away at it.
Yeah.
Instead of leaving it all to the last minute like we did this time.
Yeah.
Just slowly kind of, you know, start in Feb and just get things sorted out. And then we can do a bit more testing and perhaps even play around with the data a bit more before we even get to that point. But the thing is, like, now we've done it once, it's just going to be so much easier.
Yeah.
And that's the key message, is it's just going to be so much better for everyone.
Yeah.
So
we did it.
Yeah.
Now it's on to the year 2.
Exactly.